Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update video today. We'll have a bit of a chat about what's happened in Spain over the last week or so while I take my dog Mia for a walk around this morning. Here's little Mia, as you guys know, and she always looks forward to her walk. Now get the weather out of the way. As you can see, an overcast day today, no sun, a little bit windy. The good thing is that it's not cold. It's around 8 or 9 degrees Celsius currently, and over there it even looks like fog. And I know what you guys are thinking, where's the good weather that you have been speaking about all week? And the simple answer is, I've got no idea. I was expecting sunny weather around 19-20 degrees. In fact, I think the temperature is going to get up to that, but whether there's any sun, I've got no idea. But I think in other parts of the country, yes, sunny, warmer weather, and as we have been saying during the week, a little taste of spring at the end of winter. But unfortunately, no sun here. So what's been dominating the press over the last week or so in Spain? Well, unfortunately, the main word that we're reading in the paper is still corruption. The Canary Island corruption case still dominating the press, and also another corruption case also involving the Civil Guard dominating headlines too. And the more we learn about these corruption cases, the more we realize that this is the same type of corruption that has plagued Spain for decades. A really, really low level corruption, in my opinion. The type of corruption where for a few €1,000 or maybe €10,000 you risk going to jail or getting your reputation absolutely smashed. But that's what we're dealing with currently. A businessman down there in the Canary Islands, a real shady looking business character, a businessman with a checkered history, let's say. He's been in trouble on various occasions over the last decade or so, but for whatever reason he was able to influence politicians down there in the Canary Islands and other important business people. And as I said, the businessman allegedly behind this scheme is one of these guys that you wouldn't do business with normally, or at least I wouldn't. He's known as the middleman, and basically what he did was bring other business people together to meet politicians and hopefully get favors. That was what was going on. Businessmen would come to Madrid, meet with certain politicians in the Congress building, be wined and dined for a couple of days, and then they would hand over the cash, all on the premise, of course, of political favors. So a real low-level dodgy kickback scheme involving really dodgy people. It's a shame that it keeps repeating itself here in Spain, as I said before, decade after decade after decade. And why has all of this suddenly come to light now? Well, they're calling it the fan effect. When the SH1T is about to hit the fan, somebody starts the fan and it spreads over everybody else. And apparently that is a trick that these type of people use, because if the SH1T is going to come down on you, you may as well start the fan so that it hits everybody else as well. That's the plan. Group of pensioners there off for their morning walk. That's one thing I like about Spain, just how active some pensioners are. You never see people riding around in these mobility machines like you do in some other parts of the world, or even some parts of Spain where a lot of people visit. People that are getting a bit older, in their 60s, 70s and 80s, are still quite active, so that's a pro. Another person allegedly involved in this corruption scandal in the Canary Islands is a retired general of the Guardia Civil, the Civil Guard here in Spain, a police force, and he's also allegedly in trouble for these kickbacks. Apparently, the modus operandi of this general down there in the Canary Islands was that farmers that maybe weren't respecting environmental laws wouldn't get paid a visit by the Civil Guard if they paid this general a kickback. The Civil Guard would turn a blind eye to these bad environmental practices, or at least that's what the courts are alleging. So again, real low level, easy to detect corruption, in my opinion. Are they so stupid? And of course now, when these people appear in court before a judge, some of the excuses they give are ludicrous. For example, the Civil Guard General has said that during the pandemic he thought the world was going to end, so he went to the bank, took out all the cash he could, stashed it under his bed, because, as I said, he thought the world was going to end. Do you believe that? So that's his excuse for having €65,000 in cash stashed under the bed in €50 notes. Now here's a good sign. The cherry trees are starting to blossom. One over there, one here, and great to get some colour back in the neighbourhood, because it's been a long, cold, grey winter here without much colour. So back to the corruption scandals, and just when you thought that one corruption case involving a high-ranking civil guard official was enough, along comes another one. Yes, that's right, another case allegedly involving a high-ranking official, another ex-general, former general, retired general of the civil guard. Now I'm a bit skeptical. The skeptic in me thinks that there's some type of plot against the civil guard here in Spain currently. That could be true. And with these high-ranking ex-officials of the civil guard getting caught up in these corruption scandals, it helps some politicians discredit that organisation, the civil guard. But that's the skeptic in me. So back to the story, and again it involves kickbacks. Allegedly the civil guard general was awarding contracts for renovation works at barracks of the civil guard around the country, and of course going to certain builders, and no doubt they were getting those contracts because of kickbacks, or at least that is what is being alleged. So again, the oldest trick in the book. I've got 35,000 euros for renovation works. I'll give the contract to you, but put 5 into my bank account, or give me 5 in cash. That's the way it was working, allegedly. So 2 corruption schemes coming to light in less than a month. But that's right, we're in an election year, so no doubt more corruption cases will come to light in coming months. Well, that's just my opinion anyway. Because with so much money coming into the country, lots of people no doubt will have their snouts in the trough. Cervecería Cien Montaditos. Now, if you live in Spain, you are no doubt familiar with that brand, Cien Montaditos. The same company owns this business here, Cervecería La Sureña, and also this place here, TGB, The Good Burger. And they've got a couple of other brands as well. And I think the model they use here in Spain is a franchise model. Now, the story begins. I went to Cien Montaditos yesterday evening, as I normally do on a Friday. I like the little montaditos. If you're not familiar with what a montado is, or a montadito, here in Spain you've got bocadillo, which is a long roll. Then you've got montado, which is half a roll. And then you've got montadito, which is a small little roll like this. And that's what Cien Montaditos is famous for. Cheap prices, cheap beer, cheap montaditos. In general, you can eat for a cheap price. And in all the years that I have been going to this establishment, I've never had an experience like I had yesterday evening. It was unfortunate, and I'm going to tell you about it now. So as I said, Friday evening around 7:45 p.m. my son had finished football training. We decided to go to Cien Montaditos to have a couple of montaditos each, 2 each. I have a pint of beer, which you can get for around €2. Cheap beer, and my son loves the montaditos every now and again. So I ordered 7, and the thing is that you pay for them at the counter, and then they call your name about 5 minutes later when they are ready. So I went up to the counter to pick them up, and there were 7 montaditos sitting on a little plate, and half of them were hanging off the edge of the plate. And as you can imagine, when I picked up the plate and started to take it to the table, one of the montaditos, or little rolls, fell off the plate onto the ground. No surprises, considering the way that they were placed on the plate. Now, these things are not expensive. They're only around €1.20, €1.30 each, sometimes even less. So I didn't really care about losing the montadito, but I told the guy behind the counter, and it was the reaction from that guy that surprised me the most. The first thing the guy said was, "That's not my problem, that's your problem." And I said, "No, I don't think so. I think it's your problem because you put the montaditos on the plate badly." And he started to get a little bit angry and aggressive and said, "No, it's your problem because the plate was in your hands when the said montadito fell off the plate." The other person working there then started to weigh in on the debate and again said, "We're not going to buy you a new one." And I said, "I didn't ask for a new one, but I'm telling you that it's on the floor, so maybe you might want to come around and clean it up." That's what I was trying to get to. But 2 aggressive staff workers in this place, and let's be honest, I don't think I'll be going back to that particular Cien Montaditos. I've got nothing against the brand. Okay, it's a cheap brand. They offer cheap food for a cheap price, and you get pretty bad service. In fact, you get bad service in all of the restaurants that belong to that chain, in my opinion. But hey, that's just my opinion. So if you are going to one of these places, don't say anything bad to the staff working there, because they might get aggressive and abuse you, and you don't want that to ruin your meal. do you? And I get it, sort of. You're 35 years old, it's Friday night, and you're making montaditos for a living. I can imagine that your life is pretty crappy. But don't get aggressive with the customers, especially if they are not aggressive. And in my case, I wasn't aggressive. So let us know your experiences with aggressive waitstaff, either at that establishment here in Spain or other establishments here in Spain, or other bars, restaurants, wherever you go around the world, your experience with aggressive waitstaff. On that note, I'll wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the video out as you normally do. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.